UCLA basketball gets reminded once again of the gap they have created for themselves. The Kings allegedly lose one of the few people who know how to score, and Edwin Diaz uses simple words to explain why he joined the Dodgers. Good morning. I'm James. And this is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the Faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It is February 15th, 2026. Welcome back to Ice Station Alpha in Michigan. It's also Sunday, the Lord's Day, so if you believe as I do, take a moment. Thank Him for the blessings that you have in life, like LA Sports. And if you like being in the know about LA Sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop an update. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. By all means, comment. Now, we have an expanded look at the scoreboard because yesterday I watched second-ranked Michigan slap UCLA silly 86-56. The Bruins opened a stretch of 3 games against ranked teams. And god-awful is how Mick Cronin described the opener, which is apt, even though I don't like taking the Lord's name in vain on Sunday. Trent Perry scored 14 for the Bruins, but they never led and frankly never had a damn chance. Michigan sank 62% of its shots. Oh yeah, UCLA cut the deficit to 2 at the half, but dude, 62%. Ball game. The Wolverines smelled a shot at the top spot in the AP rankings, and they went for the kill. And I want to be fair. I am not saying any of this to clown UCLA. I say this because UCLA basketball was the standard of excellence for decades. Decades! Even after John Wooden left, the Bruins were always still kind of lurking, right? They'd be ranked consistently. They were likely to get to the Sweet 16. They were just churning out NBA players. Puncher's chance to win the tournament. The Bruins of the past would look at this stretch of 3 games against ranked teams as an opportunity. We're still UCLA and we're going to prove it. Now, who's willing to bet that this team makes it out of the first weekend of the NCAA tournament? If they qualify. Bigger picture, you start to get the idea that Ade Mara, who transferred to Michigan from UCLA, was onto something. All he wanted to do was to play and develop. Now, I will grant you that scoring 9 points Saturday isn't exactly amazeballs, but he blocked 3 shots and grabbed 8 rebounds. There was an impact. So this season, he gets his minutes. He's almost doubled his season average in points and rebounds. And oh, by the way, Mara's replacement, Xavier Booker, 5 points and 2 boards. Which brings us back to the analysis that Cronin had of UCLA as god-awful. Isn't it time people at UCLA consider that what matters is Mick Cronin might be god-awful at judging talent before extending the coach contractually until the next decade? Who wants to play for this guy unless there's a big check involved? And by the way, speaking of big checks with UCLA, Donovan Dent, 10 points. Who develops into NBA prospect, NBA lottery status at UCLA? Cronin has developed exactly 0 lottery picks with the Bruins. You have just 2 Bruins taken in the first round of the NBA draft during Cronin's tenure. Peyton Watson at pick 30 back in 2022. Jaime Jaquez Jr., 18th in 2023. And neither of them start. UCLA used to be the pipeline to get to the NBA. Again, Is it possible that being god awful is an extension of the entire program under the stewardship of the coach? And by the way, who gave Cronin the extension? For all the crap that has been heaped on Martin Jarmond for hiring poor football coaches, what about Mick Cronin? He doesn't recruit high schoolers? Much like former football coach Deshaun Foster, I might add. They keep flipping the roster in the transfer portal every year. If you're a UCLA basketball fan, you should be sick over what you saw yesterday. You knew they weren't going to match up, but you should be absolutely sick at this outcome. Because the same rot gut that has gutted the football team, obviously clearly the same thing is going on in basketball. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments thread. Meanwhile, there are no games involving LA teams today. Sundays are considered a day of rest. Take advantage. And let's get to the news. Multiple reports suggest Kings winger Kevin Fiala's season is donezo after an injury during the Olympics. We brought it up yesterday that he was hit during the Canada-Switzerland game in the Winter Games by Tom Wilson of our syrup-sucking neighbors to the north. Now, it's really easy to get upset over this if you're a Kings fan, which I am. Fiala is second on the team in goals and points. You can count on one hand the number of Kings players who understand that you have to score at least once to win a game. Also, easy to get upset because Wilson is a known headhunter. But to be fair to Wilson, as I mentioned yesterday, saw the replay from multiple angles. It's hard to call that play dirty. And by the way, coaches for both teams said likewise. Having said all that, this has possible season-ending moment for the Kings written all over it, unless they make another move. They're currently 3 points out of a playoff berth. Moreover, even though they recently traded for another winger, Artemi Panarin, it was with the idea that you would pair Panarin, my bad for mispronouncing it the first time, Panarin and Fiala on one line. Finally giving the Kings something that looks like a diverse offensive threat. Now, LA will be lucky if they get the status quo. So where the hell do the Kings go from here? So, well, we do know the trade deadline, March 6th. Now, unlike Rob Blake's tenure as GM, when the Kings were always just grinding up against the cap like a junior college dropout against a sugar daddy, that's not the case this year. They have tons of cap space, $15 million to use, so they could take on damn near any other team's overpaid player. Hell, they might be able to take on two overpaid forwards. But the question that I would have is, do the Kings have any prospects worth trading for? If you're thinking about pulling up somebody from the Inland Empire as a stopgap, okay, their leading scorer, Andre Lee, qualified for the AHL All-Star game this week, but that's not a long-term solution. The Kings' best offensive threat was traded to the New York Rangers in order to land Panarin in the first place. So, LA's in trouble. We can't sugarcoat this. And it raises the question of whether the NHL should continue to allow players in the Olympics. Owners have been hesitant to do so for exactly this reason. Because fourth liners don't make Olympic teams, stars do. And this is not the first star to get injured. Dominik Hasek got injured. John Tavares in past Olympics. And to what end? It's not like I'm watching hockey, Olympic hockey anymore. The Miracle on Ice was one of the greatest moments of my childhood. It cinched me in as a hockey fan for life. But the Olympic Games are trash, and because of that, I don't watch Olympic hockey. I don't... Sports that I had interest in that were in the Olympics have always been replaced by goofball activities like ski ballet. That's an Olympic sport. Not to mention the incessant political preaching that makes the Bad Bunny halftime show look like intellectual discourse. So, yeah, I had to be told Kevin Fiala got injured, and then I watched the game to try to get the replay. It doesn't move me nearly as much as Kings hockey. And now, thanks to the Olympics, I don't even get to see my team at their very best. If you're a Kings fan, let me know what you think. New Dodgers closer Edwin Diaz explained free agency to not the Mets fans, but the Mets owner Steve Cohen, which is nice. For all the crap that you hear about the LA Unified School District, don't go to sleep on how New York's school system keeps churning out one idiot after another. Cohen has faced a queen-size poop storm over losing a closer to the two-time champs and said, quote, "I'm not exactly sure how Edwin arrived at that decision. I thought we made a pretty respectable bid," unquote. Said he was perplexed by the whole thing, to which Diaz replied, quote, "I was a free agent?" In other words, Edwin Diaz left New York for LA because, duh. Diaz did not drag the Mets, to be fair, but he cited a number of things with the Dodgers: clubhouse chemistry, that despite the players come from all over the world, there's still camaraderie on the roster. He only gets another $3 million a year more by coming to LA. He was a free agent. He chose where he wanted to live. He chose the people he wanted to hang out with. And newsflash, New Yorkers ain't cutting it. Popular reliever Bruce Dog Gratterall said he wants to be ready for opening day after missing all of 2025, recovering from shoulder surgery. And then Dave Roberts was like, "Whoa, bruh." Said Roberts, quote, "Yesterday he threw off the mound and still the velocity is not near where it's going to be. So I think it's a slow progression," unquote. And I know the following isn't exactly a Dodger update, but for a while on this program, we've mentioned how you're not really a Dodger pitcher until you have Tommy John surgery, right? Well, in little brother news, the Slime Diego Padres have signed Nick Castellanos about a day after the Phillies cut him. And why did they cut him? Well, for example, he was bringing beer into the dugout when he gets upset for being benched. So the lesson learned is you're not a Dodger pitcher until you have Tommy John surgery, and you're not a Padres position player until you've either been popped with performance-enhancing drugs or just blackout drunk. So kudos to Slime Diego. Much non-love to our little brothers by the border. Angel City FC has removed Savvy King from the season-ending injury list Saturday. That means she'll be eligible to play in preseason matches. The regular season opens March 15th. She's been sidelined since May of last year for a cardiac event on the pitch. And I am not privy to her medical records, but everything I've read suggested the 21-year-old had a heart attack. Hi. Doctors discovered during open heart surgery that she had a rare congenital heart condition. Layman's terms, an artery over the heart was in the wrong place and it just crapped out. So they had to reattach it where it should be, and now all of a sudden things are functioning. Now, everybody is saying the happiest of happy talk that ever happened over her being back on the pitch. And I realized I'm a cynic. But I remember where I was the night Hank Gathers died on the court for Loyola Marymount. 'Cause I remember where I was the night Hank Gathers died on the court for Loyola Marymount. 'Cause I remember where I was the night Hank Gathers died on the court for Loyola Marymount. 'Cause I remember where I was the night Hank Gathers died on the court for Loyola Marymount. 'Cause I remember where I was the night Hank Gathers died on the court for Loyola Marymount. 'Cause I remember where I was the night Hank Gathers died on the court for Loyola Marymount. 'Cause I remember where I was the night Hank Gathers died on the court for Loyola Marymount. 'Cause I remember where I was the night Hank Gathers died on the court for Loyola Marymount. 'Cause I remember where I was the night Hank Gathers died on the court for Loyola Marymount. 'Cause I remember where I was the night Hank Gathers died on the court for Loyola And that's a memory I don't appreciate. I wish Hank Gathers was still alive. So this is not about Angel City hate. There's plenty of reasons to hate the way Angel City does things. But this isn't about Angel City hate. This is about I don't want to see dead girls on a soccer field. Because people who have that surgery, oftentimes, they need it tweaked. Even if you go to Cedars-Sinai. The Chargers have hired former NFL linebacker Sean Spence to join the defensive coaching staff. Now, the role technically is undefined, but he coached edge rushers at Western Michigan under Newbolt's defensive coordinator Chris O'Leary, so they know each other, right? But statistically speaking, here's what you should pay attention to. Spence brought dramatic improvement. Western Michigan's numbers in 2024 gave off UCLA Deshaun Foster vibes. They were 118th in the nation in sacks. But the team jumped from 13 sacks to 43 in 2025. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me, for example, about your reflections of UCLA basketball. For that matter, also, do you think the Kings have a chance now that Kevin Fiala is likely done for the year? And if you enjoyed the update, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day. Thank you for watching. I'm James, and we'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortel Queso production. Take care.